Hi everyone, today let's talk about Coinbase, then we'll talk about the Ukraine dam and some interesting charts, then we'll go over Max Payne, then we'll go over the charts and my results for the day and my positions and thoughts going into tomorrow's session. If you like trading stocks and options and making money, definitely like and subscribe. I make videos like this every single day that the markets are open as well as Sundays, so make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. So the US sued Coinbase and the stock dropped 12%. According to the SEC, they had 13 assets listed on the platform that are considered to be crypto asset securities. And if they are a security, they have to be registered as a broker instead of a crypto exchange. And because of this, they got sued. The details on this are a little bit limited and quite in depth, but that's really what you need to know. They had assets on their platform that are considered securities, and they can't do that without being a brokerage. And this comes right after the issues with Binance, which are still ongoing, so the crypto space definitely under some pressure here in the short term. Moving over to the Ukraine war here, you can see there are some issues with the dam. This dam was built in 1956 as a hydroelectric plant, and you can see here it is currently failing. The repercussions of this are going to be pretty catastrophic for the region. They are getting people out of the area right now. Looking at these images here, it's pretty catastrophic. The water flowing right through the dam like it's not supposed to, and that is catastrophic, like I said, for the region. Moving over to some data points, I got this from Game of Trades on Twitter. They are a pretty good source of data. And you can see here we are at a very high optimism reading, much higher than we've seen here recently. This was the February high. This was your August high in terms of optimism, lower levels than current. And then going all the way back to January of 22, that's where we were. You can see that level, and we've had downturns from each of those points. Again, doesn't mean that it's going to happen instantly or that this cannot continue higher, at least in the short term. But just keep in mind that we are in this range, and fairly consistently we do see downturns at some point in the near future. Moving over to this Apple data chart, you can see we hit a 14-week overbought reading here on RSI. And what this is highlighting is that when we hit these kinds of readings, basically we can go up or down from this point. And more often than not, we actually continue higher upon these readings. So Apple hitting those overbought conditions based on this 14 read on the RSI. And of the 8 times that this has happened here recently, going all the way back to 2011, 5 of those times Apple has continued higher, and only 3 of those times we've had a downturn in Apple. So this certainly could be another situation where we continue higher from this point. And if I had to guess, I would say that we are probably going to go higher on Apple. The run here has been dramatic. We've been talking about it for a while, and it does not seem to be cooling, at least yet. Moving over to Max Payne here, we're up to almost 1.4 million options. Put call ratio still at 2.11, extremely high. You can see all these puts in the market, way higher than any of the calls. Max Payne is all the way up at 422 now, which is interesting. Highest call strike, still 428, right in that range here. Still talking about that 430, 431 type finish, where you have the vast majority of these puts ending up worthless. But it is interesting to see how this is adjusting based on pricing, market staying strong, puts entering the market, but still at lower levels, and probably going to continue to prop up the SPY as we go into the Friday close. And with that, let's get into the charts here on the S&P 500 here on the hour and the daily. You can see the hour rallied back up into that resistance point. Does look kind of aggressive here going into the after hours. If we get a breakout, certainly could push up to that 431 area. We have resistance levels right there. Daily chart looking strong. Daily momentum still building and bullish. RSI on both of these are bullish and building. Everything here on the S&Ps looks bullish going into tomorrow's session. Moving over to the NASDAQ here on the hour and the daily, you can see still slightly bullish, building similar to the SPY. Not nearly as strong though. 353.24 held. We did test that early in the session. 55 EMA also holding here on the hourly chart, continues to build. It's up a little bit after hours. Slightly red day. Momentum is starting to fade here. We're definitely overbought here on the NASDAQ. It doesn't seem to have the same kind of legs as the S&Ps. The S&Ps look like they're poised to go higher here, and the NASDAQ is kind of flat in this zone. It's worth noting that hourly momentum is looking to flip bullish here tomorrow. That would be interesting. RSI also looks quite good on the hourly chart. but you'd like to see some follow through on the daily chart if we are going to get an actual push higher up to that 359.93 level. Moving over to the Dow and the Russell on the 4-hour. Russell making a huge leg higher. This is definitely a breakout. This confirms off of that 179.17 level. Been talking about that level for a very long time. It was a key level, did hold, and then we rallied right up to the next one, broke that level. Now we're in this consolidation area between 183.28 and around 186. Looking at the Dow, kind of flat on the day, holding that 335.91 level. If we get a little bit of a push tomorrow, 339.11. If it breaks down, probably looking at that 200 SMA or slightly lower around 333.75. It's also worth noting that momentum on the Dow has been fading quite dramatically. RSI still in the bullish range, but below the SMA. Certainly could hold in this range and then continue higher, but these indicators are not looking like they're going to surge higher right now, at least in the short term. Moving over to the put-call ratio, I mentioned this in the Sunday video saying that we were kind of seeing a lower grouping of this put-call ratio down more towards normal levels, closer to that 3/4 to a half range. And then on Monday, we got a huge pushback up towards that 1 range, basically balanced here. And now we're just slightly below that. So a little bit of bullish sentiment like we talked about in that earlier chart. But put-call ratio says we are just slightly bullish, not nearly as optimistic as those initial charts. So kind of an interesting contrast there. Moving over to Apple and Tesla. Apple got a wick rejection from the 9-day moving average, still below 179.61. So horizontal support is 176.13, but the 9 EMA could hold. We've tested that level, and if it's going to go higher, you'd like to see that happen now. Then we need to get above this previous high. Otherwise, we're looking at a lower high or a double top setup in this range. Certainly possible. Momentum still stepping down. RSI also stepping down slightly. Still a very bullish trend, but a little bit of weakness here at the top for Apple. Tesla, on the other hand, showing no weakness, continues this relentless bullish run. Huge momentum, huge RSI, big volume. Everything looks super bullish here on Tesla. Moving over to Roku and Netflix. I've been talking about these for a while here. Roku rocketed higher here today, pushing up to that 63.45 area. Not a key level yet, but we do have this previous high up around that 65 level. Wouldn't expect this to stop until we get into that range here. Netflix cooling off at trend support, which is interesting. If this breaks, I would expect it to pull back to the 55 EMA, down around 378.23. That'd be a pretty significant pullback for Netflix, but does support it here with weak momentum, weak RSI. Looks like we're setting up for a more consistent pullback, similar to what we saw here, but looking for a test of that 55 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. Moving over to CHWY and AMD, you can see CHWY breaking out once again above the 200 SMA. Looks very nice. Big bullish momentum and RSI. AMD bouncing off of that 21 EMA on the 12-hour chart, getting a nice push back into these previous ranges. Still need to take out this previous high, but it does look like we're going to do that at this point. That was a really big push. Nice step up in volume, momentum turning back towards bullish. AMD looking like a nice setup, and it does have quite a bit of room to run up to that next major resistance. Moving over to staples and discretionary, you can see discretionary sold off back into this support zone, hit that highest traded zone at 72.58, just above my 72.50 level. Looks like a potentially higher low setup. Momentum is still fading. You'd like to see this tick back into bullish, but RSI looks okay. Nice little step up on volume on that second candle here, potentially looking for a push up to 74. If that breaks, you have the 55 at 74.29, and then the 200 sitting up at 74.94. Looks like a fairly decent setup, potentially a pullback from this bigger down leg that we saw over the second half of May. Discretionary continues to go higher, broke out here like we talked about being possibility yesterday. Above that, we have around that 162 area, so around another $3 of upside on discretionary. Moving over to oil and gas and financials, some of the best performers here today. Oil and gas getting above 124.13. This has been some really choppy trading in here. Big push up, big pullback to support, rallying from that zone, tested 120.57 and that downtrend line, and then rallied again. So kind of looks bullish, but you're a little bit extended based on this chop that we've been seeing. Looks like a nice higher low setup versus this previous low. Momentum, slightly bullish. RSI looks good. Slightly bullish, but cautious on XOP. Financials looks like a nice breakout. We've had a solid base. We're going higher here. We took out this high right here on 19 May. Looks like we're pushing up to the 1 May high, up around 33.43. We have the 19 April high at 33.53. So about another 50 cents here on financials. Looks quite strong. 200 SMA sitting at 33.66. We're above all the EMAs and SMAs except for the 144. Looks quite nice in terms of a base and potential setup for a rally on financials. Moving over to transports here on the hour and the daily, you can see we threw a huge wick down, very close to that 55 EMA, rejected very strongly, and then we held basically flat on the day. Very interesting. Slightly above this trend support. Looks okay. Maybe we push back up to 231.65, retest resistance up here. Certainly a possibility. Daily momentum still bullish. Daily RSI still bullish, but more neutral on the hourly chart. Moving over to the dollar here, it looks like another wick to the upside. Talked about this potentially being a bull flag type setup. You can see the run into this area, starting to channel downwards a little bit. Watching this uptrend from this previous low to here, certainly could just chop in this zone and then we get that bigger breakout. Absolutely a possibility on the dollar, something I'm watching for at this point. Either way, still in a holding pattern, not moving either way quite yet. Moving over to JNK and TLT. JNK breaking out here today. Looks very nice. Still has a long way to go to get to 92.50, but we're above the 200, above all the EMAs and SMAs here on the 4-hour chart. Momentum is bullish. RSI bullish. Looks very nice. Definitely looks risk on here to me. Everything looks good on JNK. Looking at TLT, we had a higher low setup from this previous low. We're above 102.50. Looks fairly nice. Looks like a push up to 103.70 is ready to happen. 144 EMA sitting at 103.54 as well. If we break above those levels, then we have the 200 at 104.27. Does look like we're setting up for a little bit of a leg higher on TLT. Moving over to the bond and S&P volatility indexes, you can see they're both falling through the floor. Markets look bullish. Everything looks nice. Making lower lows here once again on the VIX. Not much to say. Lower lows, bearish momentum, very close to oversold conditions once again, but this could absolutely continue to go lower. Zooming out to the 1 week view here on the VIX, you can see these previous lows for November and October of 19 and 20. That was down around 11.77. At this point, you would expect to hit those lows before we see any kind of major reversal, in my opinion. Moving over to my accounts, I did fairly well, $650. That's what you like to see. Qs were basically flat, down 6 cents, and they're actually up a little bit after hours, so slightly positive on the day. You can see I have another 2 covered calls here at $355 for tomorrow. Got around $240 for those options. You like to see it. Expect to pull that money in, and hopefully the shares appreciate a little bit. Make sure we get that profit. And then I have some puts here at 353 once again for tomorrow. Everything still looks fairly solid on the Qs. Less bullish than the others. I might pick up a SPY position tomorrow, potentially. The SPY does look more bullish than the Qs right now. And then looking at the IWM, you can see that huge day. I rolled out these calls very early in the session, so I captured some profits there. But you can see the huge negatives. I'll probably continue to roll these out and protect myself. I might pick up a second position in my individual account. You can see I sold a 181 put. That's going to be profit tomorrow. I expect that to be a max profit. Might even roll this out again. We'll see. Try to get a little bit more bullish here on the IWM as well as the SPY in tomorrow's session. Tech starting to slow down, but not necessarily pull back. IWM and the SPY look like they're going to lead us higher, at least in the short term. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of those data pieces. I've been finding some good stuff on Twitter. I think I'll continue to pull it. Looks fairly interesting if you guys like that stuff. Like I said, let me know in the comment section. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. You guys have been subscribing at a pretty fast rate, and I really appreciate the support. So definitely share it with your friends. And of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.